Hi everyone, my name's Nikki and welcome to my very first Flosstube video. I hope you enjoy what you see. I'm going to share some stuff, talk about some of my plans. Hopefully you get to know me a little bit. I'm certainly one of the reasons why I'm interested in making a Flosstube video is to get to know some more Flosstubers and some more stitchers out in the big wide world. The date today is the 21st of January 2021. The year is marching along already. A little bit about me. I'm a mum of two boys, aged 11 and 13, and a wife to Dom. We've been married for 20 years. Happily married for that long. Professionally, I'm an ecologist and an environmental planner. So town planning is basically what I do, but rather than manage humans and urban infrastructure, I look after Australian wildlife, so Australian plants and animals, which is a pretty cool job, and I'm pretty fortunate to do something that I really enjoy. I wanted to just give like most new Flosstubers, let you know who my favourite Flosstubers are. I really enjoy Nicole's needlework. She's my stitchy idol. Everything Nicole stitches I'd like to stitch, because everything she selects to stitch is just glorious. The colours, the linen, the stitch count, all of those sorts of things. I love samplers. Samplers are my preferred type of stitch, as you'll probably soon find out when I share a few of my projects. I've been stitching for a long time, off and on, like most people. I stitched a lot when I was a kid, or quite a bit when I was a kid. I started stitching in the 80s, when I was about 12 or 13, I guess, when I saw some family members doing some stitching and I thought I'd have a go. So I've actually got one of the very earliest pieces that I stitched, and I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I think this was a Precious Moments, from a Precious Moments book. And this is a cute little one that I did back in the 80s, probably mid to late 80s. You can see I put my little name on it, Nick. And it's a cute little boy and girl and a little kitten on there. And I love pussycats. I love all animals, but I do love pussycats. So that was one of the very first things, and it smells musty. Anyway, so I did lots of cutesy sort of things, and it was difficult back in the 80s and 90s to get access to a wide range of cross stitches. We have a shop in Australia called Spotlight, which I assume is very much like Hobbycraft in the UK and Joann's and Michael's in the US. It's just a store that has fabric and floss, thread, all sorts of things, buttons, furnishing fabrics, that sort of stuff. Lots of different crafts, all under one roof. So Spotlight used to have, or still does really, have all sorts of little kits. Nothing very fancy, but that's what I used to stitch, just some cutesy little things, which were quite suitable for when I was, you know, growing up and a teenager and that sort of thing. As the years went on, I just did those sorts of things. Stitched a few things for my young nieces when they were babies. Again, just cutesy little baby things, which was great. I loved it. And then I took a break from cross stitch for quite some time after I went to university and started working a professional career, that sort of thing. I didn't stitch for a long time. Instead, I took up patchwork and quilting. So I've made a lot of quilts over the years, but more recently, again, I've gotten back into cross stitch big time. When I first got back into cross stitch, I didn't know that there was this amazing world of samplers and reproduction samplers, but my husband and I were actually having a holiday in New Zealand, and I noticed, or I saw what I thought at the time was an absolutely beautiful cross stitch, and it was a kit, and I loved it. I hadn't done cross stitch for quite some time, but I loved it, so I bought it and I stitched it, and I would probably call it a sampler, just because it's got different motifs and different elements in it, but not really a traditional sampler as we know it today. But this was a Marjolaine, I think you pronounce it, Marjolaine Bastin Lanart kit that I stitched, and it's quite a big one. This is what I stitched. Oh, this would have been probably, I probably started this in about 2005. So you can see it's got lots of little cute bugs. I love bugs and birds and all sorts of creatures. Some beautiful crocus flowers and bees. Absolutely beautiful. This is like the other one, it's smelly because it's been stored in a box. Pumpkins. All sorts of pretty things on it, and the pretty border. I should get it framed. Everybody tells me you should get that framed, but I haven't yet. I will one day. So that's that one. So it's a big one. It's quite big. It took me a long time. It took me a few years because my first son was born in 2007, and I was working on it when he was born. I remember him as a baby lying in my arms and I trying to put a few stitches in to get it done. So, I've got a fluff. Excuse me. So then when my second son was born, and he started to develop his own little personality, we soon realised that he really loved dragons, you know, like wizards and dragons and that sort of stuff. So I thought, oh, I'd like to stitch him something for his bedroom. So I searched the internet, had the benefit of the internet by now, and was able to find a pattern. It was a little booklet, and I can't remember what it was either. I haven't got a very good memory. With all sorts of dragons in it, and so I stitched him one, and this one I have had framed, and it's this one, and I'll try and, oh, it's very glary this afternoon, it's quite late in the day. That's probably about the best. So this, as you might be able to see, this moon in here is all Krynic, which I didn't mind stitching at all. I know a lot of people really dislike Krynic, but I quite liked it. Had to go slow and have short lengths, and it's all beaded. It's quite heavily beaded. All of the wing and the chest and the flames and whatnot are all beads. So that was one I did for Liam, and that now hangs on his wall in his bedroom. So that was a nice one. I quite like that one. But more recently I have definitely been getting into samplers. My friend Annette, who I go to patchwork and stitching days with, hi Annette, Nettie, she said to me one day, have you been watching Flosstube? And I said, what is Flosstube, Annette? And she said, Flosstube, she told me all about Flosstube. And so I came home and I started watching Flosstube, and down a rabbit hole I went. I didn't realise, as I said, samplers were available, and they were so beautiful. So one of the very first Flosstube videos I watched was of Nicole's Needlework, and she was working on Merrily Merrily We Welcome Spring by Blackbird. And I just fell in love with that chart, and I just had to stitch it. So I did. And I finished it, and I have had it framed, and it now hangs in our bedroom, which is the room I'm in now. But so sorry about all that glare, it's annoying. So that is Merrily Merrily We Welcome Spring, and I stitched this one using all of the called for over dyed flosses on a 40 count Wren fabric from Picture This Plus. So that was that one, and I believe I did everything according to the chart except for that little blue house at the bottom there. It was supposed to have a few satin stitches, but I didn't particularly like the look of the satin stitches, so I just did the cross stitches instead. So that one turned out really well, and I put my husband's and my initials on it, the O on the top of the tree there for our surname, my son's initials, and the year, which was 2020. I think it says 2020. Yep, I finished that one I think in January 2020. So that was the first sampler that I did when I really got back into cross stitch. So that's that one. And since that time I've done lots and lots of cross stitching, and had all sorts of starts and finishes and whatnots. Last year I joined, these are all just finishes I'm going to share with you now, so I hope you enjoy seeing those. Last year, after the National Needlework Market, the Cruel Goblin, which is most people have heard of the Cruel Goblin, it's a beautiful needle workshop in Kalari in Sydney. And Sydney's it'll be about a 6-hour drive south from where I am at the moment. I live on the east coast of Australia in New South Wales, and I don't really have a local needle workshop, but the Cruel Goblin is certainly an absolutely beautiful shop that, you know, and the staff there are wonderful. Every time you call them or email them, you know, you can get pretty much whatever you want. Some fabrics, some linens are hard to get, but threads and other supplies, charts and things, you know, wonderful. So after Needlework Market last year, the Cruel Goblin decided to do a Blackbird Sewing Club book club. So I put my hand up to join it, and I've got a little box here because I think there were 9 projects all up, and I've stitched 3. Going a bit slow there, but this is what they all look like when they came in this gorgeous little black cardboard box. And when you open up the box, it came in this gorgeous tissue with a little sticker, and then inside it's got all of the things that you need to complete the project. Now this one was for the July project, which was the little button bag, and it came with some Weeks Dye Works linen in a little pack, a little needle, and the little mother of pearl buttons, which was very cute. A little card just with all of the details about what the project is, so you can see it's that one there, that cute little one. The floss card, cute little floss card that they put together, and some beautiful silk ribbon for finishing. So all of the projects came very much kitted up like that, so pretty special. Really nice to get something in the mail like that. It was like a little gift every month, just for me. And this was the first one that they put out. Excuse my little pins there. I believe this one was called The Air of Other Summers. And so I have stitched that one and fully finished it into a little pillow. And it's not very, the stuffing is pretty light on. I should put more stuffing in it. But it was stuffed with some sheep's wool, just some wool. But there's not a lot of it, so it's a little bit thin and patchy for my preference. But anyway, that's okay. So that's it there. Sweet little pillow. And I went down a rabbit hole, which I'm renowned for, and made myself some little counting pins, some blingy counting pins, and they just stick in there. And that's that little finish. Cute. Oops. And with Christmas just having been here reasonably not long ago, I did quite a bit of Christmas stitching, and this was one that I did. It's a little freebie pattern from the Shepherd's Bush, and I just did it on a little scrap of Heron Grey Legacy linen, and it's a really cute little snowman with a little sheep and the cutest, tallest, skinniest little house with a chimney and a love heart, snowflakes. It's really quite an interesting thing being in Australia. It's summertime in the Southern Hemisphere, so but we still all relate Christmas time with snowmen, even though it's stinking hot. But anyway, so there's my little snowman. He's very cute. I believe this was a free pattern that Shepherd's Bush put out, and I believe Michelle from Mama Loves You GB included it as one of her freebie charts, the link on her freebie chart to a freebie chart in one of her Flosstube videos. So it's very cute, and I just backed it in some wool. I don't know what you call this. It's not felt. It's a woven wool. It's like wool blanketing. I should find out what the name is. That's how I finished that one, and stuffed it with walnut shell, so it's really quite firm, and I love the feel of it, the weight of it. this is another finish I've recently done. This was my very first drum that I made. First and only, I've got to say. This is a drum that I put together out of Stacey Nash's Pig Pin Keep. I think that's what the pattern is called. But it's really cute. It was, the called for fabric for this one is Murky by Picture This Plus. And we can't often get, well, I've never seen Murky available in Australia. We can order it from the US, but with COVID and the postage system, I just used a natural raw linen. It's a reasonably dark one. It's a bit darker than what it's showing up in the camera. But there's some very, very cute pigs. And I did what Ellen from Maximum Cross Stitch Power Hour, who is another one of my favourite floss tubers, because I laugh the whole time I'm watching her, particularly when she's got lipstick all over her teeth. I believe the chart had pins up here, but I changed it to pigs because I just love the pigs. And it's just really cute. I love the little butterflies and the little whirly-dwirly girly tails. And so that's the drum I made, and I put that together using Vonna Pfeiffer's fabulous drum tutorial. And I totally agree with Vonna. When you're finishing, the key consideration, the key thing that you should do is take your time. And if you take your time, you go slow, you can get a pretty good result. So that's that guy. And at the end there, when I was finished, I just thought it needed a little bit extra, so I put this Lady Dot Dirty Face Lace. That's the best name ever for a finishing product. Dirty Face Lace around there, which I thought was appropriate for pigs too, because pigs are pretty renowned for being pretty mucky, loving the mud, making things dirty, being smelly. And around the bottom too. So that's pigs. And another one of my little rabbit hole finishing pins. So that's that. Excuse me. Another Christmas small that I finished at the end of last year for Christmas was this little one. And this is called Merry Old Soul by With Thy Needle and Thread, or Brenda Gervais. And I love stitching this little guy as well. I thought he was really cute. And again, I just used some leftover or some scraps of the 38 count Heron Grey from Legacy Linens, which is a beautiful linen to stitch on, just beautiful. And we can get that reasonably easily in Australia. So I just finished him, and I found this is like a little wooden, an MDF type. It's like a big oversized gift tag, and I just painted it red, my favourite colour, similar red to Sandra's suit and hat, and put this little guy on some cardboard with some quilt batting, stuck him on, and then put some Lady Dot chenille around the edge to finish it off. I thought he was really cute. So that's him. I've got some other samplers here that I've recently finished as well. This was something that I did that was just a little bit different to my normal type of sampler stitching. This one I believe is called Margaret Withrow, 1809. I can't read backwards. But I really like this one because the colours are so different to what I normally stitch. And this was a real squirrel start. I got the chart, I received the chart in the mail, and I wanted to start it straight away. But I didn't have very many of the called for colours at all. So I just went to my reasonably limited stash and just pulled some things out that I thought went reasonably well together. And this piece of 40 count country mocha from Zweigart, and I put it together, and it was a really quick stitch. It only took me a very short while to do, only a couple of weeks I think. And I work full time, so I normally stitch just after work, you know, once all the kids stuff sorted and work sorted for the day. And that's that one. and a really quirky border. I really enjoyed that border because, you know, every motif is different, not symmetrical. Yeah, really liked it. Have to get that one framed. I do intend to get all the samplers framed, and I'm planning on putting samplers all over these bedroom walls. The most recent finish I've had is this Plum Street sampler, and it's called My Early Days, and it's not one that you see all that often on Instagram. This was a chart that Paulette released for the Plum Street retreat that was held in Australia, November 2019, I think it was. It was just when I was really getting back into cross stitch, and I placed an order with Linen and Threads, who were the conveners of that particular retreat. And this one was a chart that Karen from Linen and Threads kindly threw in for me. And so I just love it. I love the little quote on it, which says, "Now in my early days, teach me thy will to know." And so I really like the idea of children being curious and wanting to learn when they're young and all through life. So I wanted to stitch that one. So I did. I've just finished this one. And oh my, it's got a lot of damn grass. But I did enjoy stitching this one. I did get bogged down in the end with those little teeny tiny pink flowers on this tree. They're on both sides of the sampler. So that did slow me down a little bit. That got a little bit tedious. But otherwise I loved it. Again, very unusual colours for a sampler. Lots of teal and mustards and greens and browns. No, not much pink and no red on this one. So, and I stitched this one on a 40 count winter brew from R&R Fabrics, which was again a really beautiful linen to stitch on. I like the ones with the quite tight weave. Can you see that well enough in the little sheet? Bunny. Really quite cute. I really like that one. This is another recent finish, and this has got a nice story to it too. This is Hands Across the Sea Samplers, Louisa Collymore. This is a Bristol sampler, and I call this an adaptation of Louisa Collymore rather than a copy of Louisa. And that is mainly because I've made quite a few mistakes in here that I just didn't want to pull them out and fix them. And you can see this little book down here is meant to have the words Bible stitched in it, but I didn't put that in. My family and I are not religious, so I didn't want to have a Bible on that, so I just put it as just a book cover, plain book cover. So there's that, is why it's an adaptation, and also my initials are NO, and because they're consecutive letters in the alphabet, I thought I'd just separate them a little bit and put them in a different colour. And so I stitched those in a Gloriana forest green, which I thought was just a little bit different. And I really enjoyed stitching that one. I stitched that one, I believe that's a 40 count Cafe au lait, which is from Zweigart. It's just another plain Zweigart. And this one, it does have a lovely story. I stitched all but, I think it was about 8 of the large letters at the top. I start at the bottom right corner and work my way up. But I ran out of the Gloriana silk for the red lettering at the top. And I couldn't get another skein of silk from the Cruel Goblin, which is where I got the original skein of Schoolhouse Red from, to complete it. So I put a call out on Instagram to see if anybody happened to have that silk in their stash in the same dye lot, so it would all match and be pretty. And lo and behold, a lady in the US, whose name is Pat, called out and said, yes, I have a skein and I would love to share it with you. And of course I was more than happy to reimburse Pat for the cost of the silk and the expense that she was making to get it to the post office and mail it to me and that sort of thing. But Pat is just such a lovely, generous person. She says, no, it'd be my pleasure to send it to you. And so she did, and I got it in the new year and was able to finish this sampler with Pat's silk. So I'm very grateful to Pat for that. It's just really nice to get it finished, and just shows what a lovely connection stitchers have. That common thread, literally thread, common thread that we all share. So that was really nice. Okay, some whips. I need Pam and Steph's. Okay, every man and his dog's doing this one. Not quite every man and his dog, but a lot of people around the world are doing this one. This is Anne Morrison from Hats, and this is celebrating the 20th anniversary of the traditional Stitches embroidery store in Calgary, in Canada, or is it Alberta? Doesn't matter anyway, Canada. So I'm stitching this one, and I'm doing it on the called for 45 count jersey cream, and I haven't made very good progress yet. I found this linen quite hard to see. I do occasionally stitch on a 45, 46 count with not too much trouble, but this one I'm finding it quite tricky, and I don't know whether it's the linen or combination of linen and thread. I am using the called for 103 silks, which are very pretty, but I find them quite fine. I think I prefer the in the Overa Soie. I do prefer the Soie d'Alger, which is a little bit thicker, and it gives the stitch a plumper sort of look. But I thought I'd just give that a go for this one, because there's not that many that I had to get for that one. So that's Anne Morrison. It will be very pretty because it's a Scottish sampler, and I love Scottish samplers. I love the reds and the greens and the swirly whirly lettering in their alphabets. I've just got that in a bag, a vinyl fronted bag that I made myself, with a little dingly dangly on it. Oops, is that the chart? No, I don't think it's a chart. So next whip is Anna Thies. Sorry, I don't know, I can't speak, but I can't pronounce that name. But however you pronounce it, Anna is gorgeous, and I just love her colours, and I love the kitty cat. Love everything about it. The bugs, the butterfly, the flowers. So I'm making reasonably good progress on this one. And she's only quite small. I've stitched this on a 40 count. I think this is Platinum from Zweigart. She's quite pretty. Very pretty, I think, the colours. But this stitching down the bottom is getting quite tedious because it's just a couple of stitches here and there of each different colour. So there's a lot of changing of colours, and it's difficult to keep track of the chart sometimes. But that's it. And that chart came, I believe it's a Perman of Copenhagen chart that you can buy individually. But I got this particular one out of the Sampler and Antique Needlework Quarterly magazine off the CD-ROM that you can purchase. And that's, if anyone's interested, that's in number 56. So that's a beauty, and I would like to get that one finished sooner rather than later. Oops, got thread on me. What's next? Red Deer is another whip that I've got going at the moment. This was a birthday start for me last June, and when I originally saw this, I sort of thought, that's a bit wild and wacky for me, I'm not doing that one. But then Carol, Saltbox Stitcher, encourages people to put on their sampler vision when they're looking at some of the GGR chart covers, given GGR often includes photographs of the antique samplers. And also Carol was working on this one as well, so I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the colours. It is pretty wild and wacky colours, but I do love it. So this is my progress on Gigi's red deer. So that's where I've gotten to. I'm up to the deer. You can just see here, this is the grass that the deer is sitting on, and the red is the start of the deer. So I'm starting to stitch the deer. Just beautiful colours, the pinks and the reds. I've actually got here's the floss here, the threads. Such pretty colours, the reds and the pinks and the blues. Some really, really bright colours in there. Really pretty. And again, that's a 38 count heron grey legacy linen, which I just love. It stitches up very much like a 40 count, I think, because 40 count's I guess would be my sweet spot. But the 38 count legacy linen has a very, because it's a tighter weave than a lot of linens, it's really nice to stitch on. Another whip is this one that I think I saw Liz from Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch and Celeste from Celeste Creates doing a stitch along together at Christmas time with this one. So I kept seeing it and thinking, oh, it's really beautiful. It's a blackbird chart out of this book, Home for the Holidays. So this one. But I know a lot of people swap out the colours, but I actually really like the colours. I really love Calico Kitty. I think that is just the prettiest. You can probably see it against my shirt, okay. So I decided to go ahead and stitch it in the Calico Kitty, and I'm stitching it on 45 count foxtail millet legacy linen. And I've just started. It's not going to be very big on this linen. I mean, that's the top border. So that's the left and the right borders. This is where the extent of that top border. So it's not that big on this linen, which is good, because that will give me more space on the wall to put lots of samplers. So that's as far as I've gotten, and that's fun to stitch. And the fool's gold is really cool to stitch too, because it's got quite a bit of variation in the thread. So I love that look. So that's a pretty one too. They're all just so pretty. I'm with you, Laura and Brenda. Wouldn't it be nice to retire? Got quite a bit of time to go before I retire and stitch all day. Anyway. And last whip I'll show you is one that everybody has seen, but I love this anyway. Oh Joyous Day, Blackbird Designs. Just so beautiful. I love all the colours. The little pink house. The little pink house is stitched in my absolute favourite colour, which is red pear. That's my current favourite. It does change often, but at the moment it's red pear. I think it's a week's colour. Very pretty. So this is my little start. I mean, not my start, my almost done. And that's it. So I'm stitching this one on a 40 count legacy linen by Picture This Plus, which is a really pretty linen, really pretty. I just think it's very, very pretty. I think I've just got the letters to do in here, and I've got some Smyrna crosses, the 1/1 and one motif in here. I don't particularly like 1/1, but you know, you just push on and get it done. And it's so worth it because it's such a pretty, it just looks so pretty 1/1 stitching. It's so teensy tiny, but really pretty. And when these are the colours here, really beautiful. So soft. pinks and the brick red. Love it. Okay, so they are my whips. Now I do have a tiny bit of haul. Haul is not going to be something that I will have often. 2021 I have decided is the year that I'm just going to stitch what I have. And as I said, I don't have a massive amount because I've only been stitching samplers and back into cross stitch in a big way for about, I don't know, 12 months or so, 18 months. So I don't have a lot of stash, but I've got enough to keep me going. So I've decided that I'm not going to buy any new charts this year, but I am still allowed to kit things up. So I can buy linen, I can buy some threads if I need them. So recently I did find some beautiful hand-dyed linens on an Etsy store. It's an Etsy store that is run by an Australian lady, Nicola. Her business is called, or her shop is called Number 12 Stitch Co. And I bought some linen from her recently to give them a try, and they are just gorgeous. They really are truly beautiful. She dyes on a Zweigart base, you can see by the little orange line. And this one is a 40 count in the colour Rain Cloud. And it's a really, it's a little bit light, showing up lighter on the screen than it is in real life, but it's quite a grey. Rain Cloud's the perfect name for it because it is quite a grey piece of linen, and it's truly gorgeous. She's got this beautiful mottling in it with the darker grey and the lighter splotches. And that's, I believe, that's a 17 by 26 inch cut. So perfect for a sampler. So that is truly just a beautiful piece of linen. And I also bought this one, which is called Silvery Moon. And again, it's looking a lot whiter than it actually is. It's a soft grey, but it's really, really pretty. Really pretty. So that's a 40 count Silvery Moon. And then the final piece I got from Nicola was this one, and I just think this is divine. This one is called Salted Caramel, and it's a beautiful sampler colour. Just beautiful. I love this. So Nicola's often dyeing fabric when she can get it, as with everybody around the world. I believe it's been quite tricky to get linen because of COVID and the production and delivery delays. But she's got some right now, and her shop's being, she's got some listings for linen. So Number 12 Stitch Co. Number, the word number, and 12 Stitch Co. You can have a look for her on Etsy. And the last thing I wanted to show you in terms of haul, I don't belong to many clubs anymore, but I do belong to the Threads in Time Weeks Dye Works Thread Club that's put together by a Stitch in Time in Hobart in Australia. And so my little packet of my 5 weeks flosses arrived today, and that's them. So that's just making my little thread stash grow a little bit, which is pretty fun. Okay, so that's the end of my first Flosstube. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know if you've got any questions or, you know, have any comments. Please be nice. Please be kind. I hope that if you do enjoy my Flosstube, I will make some more. I've got more things to share if you'd like to see them. I know I love seeing everybody's whips and kits and things that they're looking to work on. So maybe you'd like to see what I've got up my sleeve. Okay, so until next time everybody, take care, stay well, and I'll see you soon. Bye.